I enjoyed my intro song so much. I did this 2 shows in a row. All right, let's get going. I am Isaac. This is Fun Football Podcast. There is no Bill or Med tonight. This is a fantasy football special, so I had to bring in my dad to talk some fantasy football. Hey, Dad.
Hey, everybody. How you doing?
Hold on, I can't hear anything. Scott, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, my audio pooped. Hold on. This is a great start. 1 second. I think I moved the headset. 1 second.
It's kind of like the start for
I'm just
Peyton Manning in Super Bowl 48.
How are you doing? Okay, wait. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Hold on. Sorry about this.
I'm gonna have to audible.
Okay, I can hear you.
Tom,
Can you guys hear me?
We're gonna have to get him one of those helmets,
one last
with the audio in it.
Yeah. Like the quarterbacks have, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe you have to run some signals for him. I know you don't live with him anymore, but yeah, we can.
Can't hear you.
We're sending signals in, Isaac.
I'm giving up on it. There we go.
We're sending signals in on it.
Yeah.
Okay, try one more time.
All right. Can you hear us?
Yes. So Tom, we'll talk while he gets set up. You live in Phoenix. Do you get a chance to go to Cardinal games?
Oh yeah, once in a while I've gone. Once in a while, I'm excited about the Cardinals this year. Actually.
Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. I gave up on the headset.
With the Marvin Harrison pick, I think the new GM down here is he's better. What did they have? They had like 8 draft picks in the first 3 rounds this year.
Yeah,
I like their picks actually.
Yeah, fantasy wise, it's gonna Michael Wilson's like a late sleeper, but you wonder how Zay Jones fits in. I've seen McBride pick as soon as the second tight end in some early drafts.
Yeah, he's a heavy fan favorite for fantasy this year, isn't he? And then Marvin Harris. Then we're doing Dynasty and redrafts. So Marvin Harrison, in the dynasties, he's a first-round pick.
Yeah, and my seasonal ranks on Rotoballer.com, I have him ranked 9th at wide receiver. Isaac, you ready to start your engine?
Yeah, let's do it. Thank you for carrying. I really appreciate you guys. Okay, sorry, I was trying my headset and it worked the other night. I don't know what it's doing, so I'll figure it out. No big deal.
Yeah.
Okay,
you are a Packer fan. You kind of look like a young Matt Hasselbeck.
Hey,
and I'm a Seahawks fan. But you might have hair under that hat, so
I just dug this one out, and the wife was like, I had a show a few nights ago, and I usually wear I don't know. I have a Nike hat I wear. It's a white one too. But I dug this one out, and she's like, I like that hat. And this has been stashed for a while, so I'm kind of happy I rediscovered it. It was in my hat drawer. So I'm Isaac. This is Fun Football Pod. We are doing a fantasy football special. I brought my dad in instead of Bill or Med because we're talking fantasy. This is only fantasy. We'll hit some Packers. We got a Seahawks guy here, Scott Engel. Tell everybody about all your work. It's a lot, and about the Seahawks a little bit.
Okay. Thank you very much for having me. Good to be with you, Isaac and Tom. Follow me on social media, Twitter/X at Scotty the King. You can see my fantasy football rankings and new articles up on rotoballer.com. Enter King at checkout for a discount on the Rotoballer season pass, so you can get access to all of my updated rankings. You can hear me on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio every Sunday, 3 to 5 Eastern. With Michael Florio as well on Rotoballer Radio. I also, since 2012, have been the official fantasy writer on Seahawks.com.
Wow.
You can go to the team website, click on News, the Fantasy Insider tab. You'll see all my updated content there. I spotlight Seahawks players for fantasy purposes, but I cover the whole league. Also at Sportsline.com, part of the Fantasy Football Draft Bible, and The Athletic.
Frequent. You're part of The Athletic too? I didn't know that. I didn't see that on X. That's awesome, man.
Yeah, The Athletic. I have my latest article up there. Push them up the board. Players draft ahead of their ADP. I am a member of the inaugural member of the Fantasy Sports Writers Association Hall of Fame, 4-time FSWA award winner and 13-time finalist. So,
wow.
that's
All right,
that's what I've done. Yeah.
Impressive.
I'm happy I know where to find that Sirius XM show too, because I wanted to listen to it before this, but I went and read some of your stuff before. And I didn't even know this until it happened today, but I'm on Wolf Sports on Mondays a lot of the time with Tip Major, and I do Spaces every week. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm probably going to do one tomorrow on X, and Tip always hops in, and I saw your mock draft with him today, and that was pretty good.
Yeah, Tip's a great dude. I actually invited Tip to the annual. Actually, I invited Tip to a draft we did for Sportsline.com, which will be posted next week. He had the first pick, and he took Bijan Robinson, trying to pivot.
Yeah, he's big on Bijan, man.
And I thought he was going to be taking Bijan.
Okay,
that sounds like Tip.
It does, because I've heard Tip.
Yeah,
Scott, if you were, let's just start with PPR. If you were drafting, and I'm gonna go around. I'll go last. If you were drafting first in a PPR, would you take Bijan Robinson?
Probably not. I actually slightly prefer Breece Hall because nothing against Bijan Robinson, but Breece Hall is just going to be. I think he's going to get more overall touches because that Atlanta offense. You got Pitts. You have London, etc. A little bit of Mooney. They'll work Tyler Algier in there a little bit, whereas Breece Hall is going to be the dominant back in terms of touches for the Jets. And outside of Garrett Wilson, they don't have another dependable standout player, although I do like Tyler Conklin as a sleeper. I think Breece Hall is going to be a bigger part of the Jets offense than Bijan Robinson is going to be of the Atlanta offense. And if Aaron Rodgers stays healthy and that offense actually clicks, Bijan Robinson is going to score so many rushing touchdowns for them, whereas I think Algier will still vulture a few away from Bijan. So
can I add to that a little bit, Scott?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Can I add a little bit?
Your show, yeah.
If Breece Hall can be the RB2 last year with basically no quarterback in that backfield and everybody keying on him, the way he pulled it out last year, and he was coming off that knee, so he wasn't, maybe he was 100% by the end of the year, but this year he should ascend, right? Especially with Rodgers back there.
Good question.
So I'm definitely there with you.
Yeah.
I'm there with you on Breece as well, just slightly over Bijan for that RB spot, but
I've got some good questions from Ram's house. I'm gonna hit in a second, but Jason, I invited him on at the end. Dennis Cockerham says they're funny, and my co-host Bill is watching as well. He says, "Don't mess with my guy Izac. He performed at the NFL draft. They have a single tailgate crazy. That was really cool. So I'm happy they're watching. So I had to give him a quick shout out. Here's another thought, Scott and Dad. This is a curious one, and I don't even know what to make of it. I really don't. But the Falcons had terrible quarterback play last year. No offense to what they had, but they did. And the Jets had Aaron Rodgers didn't play. So the quarterback thing with Kirk Cousins coming back off an Achilles, he'll be 36, and Rodgers at age 40, he'll be 41 in December. It's kind of this other wrinkle into the Breece Hall Bijan thing.
Yeah.
And one thing that scares me about Bijan, he looked amazingly explosive at times last year, especially that Green Bay game. But are they, like you kind of alluded to, are they going to use him enough for him to even get close? Because I know CMC is hurt right now, but he was by far and away the RB1 last year by 100 points in standard PPR leagues. Sorry, not standard, in PPR leagues. So it's a big gap already. So it's like I can't jump in a non-dynasty on the Bijan number 1 pick. I love Tip, but I can't do it.
Look, we had a draft yesterday, the Super Flex League, which is run by Jake Steele of The Athletic. And Lawrence, this is seasonal. Super
PPR, Flex, right?
Flex, the fantasy league of experts founded by Jake Steele. Lawrence Jackson of NBC Sports had the first overall pick, and he took Anthony Richardson. So I think when you look at the fact that Anthony Richardson went one experts draft, one overall, and Bijan Robinson went one overall, proves something that every fantasy player should remember. Every draft is different. You can't sit there and try to predict. If you're sitting in the 8th spot, say, well, I think the first 7 picks are going to go this way, and then I'll have a chance at this. You don't waste too much time trying to predict the draft ahead of you. People will always interview other people. Who are you going to take? And Lawrence actually bluffed to Mike Florio of the NFL Network and Rotoballer about who he was going to pick. So never try to guess who people are going to pick. Never interview them. It's, you know what? If you're at 8, this is the way I do it, and I tell people to do it. If you're at the 8th pick, queue up your top 8 players. When it's your turn, you take the top player available, and that's it.
Exactly.
Mike Florio? That's awesome. You name dropped him. I was like, I know who that is. I've read a lot of his articles. So I'm going to tell the quick story, and then I got to hit some more fantasy questions. But because Rams House has some stuff. But that's a really good point. So me and my dad, it's funny. Dad, do you even know what year you started fantasy? Early 90s, you think?
It was 96.
Okay. So I started in 98. I'm going to tell this quick story. I'll make it fast. But I started, I was only 9. By 2 months, he lied for me so I could do a paper route. I turned 10 in April of 98. I collected money doing a paper route from February up until August so I could buy my way into the fantasy league for like, I don't know, 100 to 150 because my tips back then were like nothing and half the first few months were snow. But I did all this. I win the first fantasy league against my uncle. My first year as a 10-year-old. They brought balloons and all this stuff to school as a 5th grader, and I was so excited. I didn't even know that was going to happen. But I won, and I didn't even know I won because back in 98, you didn't collect scores on a computer. You had a sheet, and you're sitting there tallying. You're like, ooh, this guy got a touchdown. You had his name.
We went off the Milwaukee Journal.
Yeah, we did.
You guys were still doing it the pen and pad way. But by 98, Sportsline.com already had a league commissioner.
Oh, wow.
That's impressive. Yeah. No, we were Italian. We were in the Upper Peninsula. We actually renamed our league.
Can I add a little bit of
add some context
to the story? My brother came in and he ran the AFC conference. I was the commissioner for the NFC conference. And what we did was, Scott, is we had 14 teams on the NFC side and we had 14 teams on the AFC side. And only in the Super Bowl did the NFC meet the AFC. So we had an extra week for the Super Bowl so 28 teams. So Izac won. Izac was the winner of a league that was 28. There was official AFC and NFC. We tried to run it like the NFL ran it.
That's very cool and unusual. Larry Schechter has a new book out about the history of fantasy sports. And he talks about, very unusual leagues and scoring systems back in the earlier days. That's something Larry, I think, would like to hear.
Nice. That would be fun. I will, remind me at the end of the show. I'm going to write that name down. And one of my favorite things about this has been reaching out to people.
That would actually be a great show, I think, to talk about Larry's book, actually.
Larry, what's his last? I'll get his stuff in at the end.
Schechter.
Larry Schechter, okay.
Yeah.
I'm writing it down right now.
You can DM me. I'll give you his Twitter. You just say that I referred you.
Awesome.
Look at me with the name dropping. He knows me. You know who I am?
Scott, you'll appreciate this too. This was really cool. A couple of 2 or 3 weeks ago, we had an NFL historian on I have 2 shows on Blitz, and man, that was cool. His name is Ken Crippen with the Football Learning Academy. So he runs it was my first show back at the end of July. So it was a little over 2 weeks ago, like 2.5 weeks ago. And he just had Chris Berman on. He had Brian Urlacher on early this year. He runs a Football Learning Academy, and it's this online academy that teaches about football, but he runs a podcast, and he donates a lot of the proceeds to former players, and he brings them on about that. But he doesn't just bring on former players. He's had Hall of Famers on. He's written a book contributing to the Packers. He's a Bills fan. He is part of the, can't remember the association, but it's a football. It's like the fantasy sports one, but it's like a different acronym. That dude was awesome. You would love him. What's his name? Like you.
Ben Crippen?
Ken, and it's Crippen. I'll send you his stuff. On Twitter. That's where I met him, on Twitter. He was amazing. You'd love him, seriously. He was so cool. Just like you, wealth of knowledge and experience.
Did you tell your Lamar Jackson story yet?
That what?
Did you tell your Lamar Jackson story yet?
No, I'll drop that in a little bit.
Before that, just something I want to hit real quick, if it's okay with you guys.
Of course.
On Twitter, Matt Wisely has a question. He said, how much does Scott diversify from league to league the players he drafts? I don't really diversify a lot. It depends on how many leagues you play in, is what my advice is to anybody who asks me, and I appreciate them asking. To me, every league is individual. And I don't think one league has anything to do with the other. Other fantasy analysts will disagree with me.
Yeah, I've seen that a lot.
I don't diversify, but there are other high-stakes players that will do it. If you're a high-stakes player that plays in like 50 NFFC best ball drafts, go ahead and diversify. If you're playing best ball, I think it's better to diversify. But in a manageable, most people only play in like 1 to 4 leagues.
Yeah.
If you're playing in, you're one of those people like Drew Loftus of the New York Post, who's called the Fantasy Man. He actually plays in over 150 leagues.
Oh my God!
Which blows even my mind, right?
I can't imagine that. Yeah.
You can't.
Then you diversify. What I'm saying is a large amount of leagues, right? If you play in a large amount of leagues, that's like over, say, 25. Go ahead and diversify. If you're doing best ball, because you can do as many best balls as you want, go ahead and diversify. But if you're playing like 1 to 4 seasonal leagues, one league has nothing to do with the other for me.
I agree. Except well, the funny thing is, so to finish the story, so that we've done redraft. I'm at it's 2024, so 26 or 27 years, and I feel like I'm going to learn a lot from you tonight. But it's our first time ever doing Dynasty. We're starting the league, and one of the reasons I wanted to do this tonight, my dad's the commish. I'm helping him with it. We are starting the league on Sleeper tomorrow.
Right.
So my question for you both:
the draft is tomorrow, Scott.
Nice.
So we need some advice. Would you?
Sure.
And we've got some questions in the comments. I'm going to hit really quick. Bill, my co-host, gambler at a young age. Robert Thomas, Packers fan. We have some fantasy questions. Tell you what, before I ask mine,
I love answering fantasy questions.
I agree. So this guy's got a question. He's in a startup right now. He's got Caleb, Kyler, Adunze, McBride. It's a super flex, start 11 PPR, 1.75, which I've never done, which I've wanted to. PPR for tight ends.
Yeah, that's tight end premium. Yeah,
tight end premium league, which is I've heard about, and I want to do different things. I got more to that story in a second. DJ Moore, White, Cook, Jacobs, or Kelsey. I want to, I'll go last. What would you guys think?
Is this a dynasty super flex?
I don't think so.
If you said it's a startup, then he's probably talking dynasty.
He's probably talking
dynasty. Yeah, he's already got his 2 quarterbacks with Caleb Williams and Kyler Murray. I like that a lot. I would say get a durable quarterback later on. Somebody, because you never know with Kyler Murray. He runs a lot, exposes himself to some injuries. Hopefully he stays healthy. I see connected Kyler with McBride.
And Adunze with Caleb.
It comes down to wide receiver or running back.
I think I'd go running back there just because.
I'm going to say push Kelsey aside just because it's dynasty and it's age, But you do want to win this year. People play dynasty and go, this is for you guys and everybody else. Everybody always looks for 5 to 7 years down the line. Too far
into the future.
Yeah.
You're going to lose.
The team is going to change, and the NFL, the trends are going to change so much within 3 years, and you want to win now. I have an article up on Rotoballer, veterans not to overlook, So you can't write off Kelsey. He'll help you win this year, but I would say he needs a running back or Adonze is going to be a number 3 wide receiver. So in his rookie year, DJ Moore, the numbers are going to go down. He's not going to. He talked about this in my latest bust article on Sportsline.com. He's not going to get to 90 catches and 1,300 yards again when you have Keenan Allen, Adonze, Swift, Komet all demanding their own touches. So what I'd like for him to do is take another wide receiver who he knows could be a number 1 this year, but if not, James Cook is probably the best long-term play.
That's what I like too, even though he's a little undersized.
Yeah, but I'd like to know what younger wide receivers are available because I'd lean towards that. You can't roll with Adonze as your wide receiver 1 for this year.
Dad, what do you think?
I'm a little worried about Cook, and you know how Josh Allen vultures. He's a running quarterback, so he can get some of those touchdowns. I agree with you on DJ Moore. I like Rachaad White there. So I wanted to hear Scott's thought about White as as a pick.
I don't want Rachaad White. He's also in my bust column.
Okay.
I don't remember the exact numbers, but he was not according to Player Profiler, he was not in the top 30 in juke rate last year. He was not in the top 40 in breakaway run rate last year. He had the same amount of carries as Christian McCaffrey. He was tied for second in the NFL in rushing attempts, and he averaged 3.6 yards per carry. Plus, Bucky Irving is going to start to cut into his workload this year, so you may not be able to rely on much as the volume. I realize what you're saying. I agree that White, that Cook doesn't get in the end zone enough. I like Jacobs a lot in Green Bay. I think he's underrated, but
I think he'll be better this year.
I think this is definitely a case where you already have a tight end in McBride, so you don't need Kelsey. I think it's a case where we have to consider what other wide receivers are out there.
My other problem, too, is that you got to get Adonze, so I don't love stacking receivers on teams, and we don't know what Caleb – we think he's going to be good, but they also have Keenan Allen this year, so I agree with you. Plus, I had Rachaad White last year in fantasy, and he saved me, but he was a pitiful runner. You nailed it, 3.6. That's after being at 3.7 as a rookie. He regressed, and there's William. I'm going to intro to you in just 1 second. I'm happy you're here. Were you having internet issues?
Yeah.
Yeah, I could tell.
Hey,
The audio. I just waited.
William.
How you doing, guys?
We were talking about a topic really quick, and then I'll kick it to you for your show. The reason I wouldn't go DJ Moore in this one really fast is because you already have Adonze. You don't go Kelsey because of his age, and you have McBride. It doesn't make sense. I agree with Scott, and I'm not just trying to agree. I wouldn't go Rachaad White because of the Bucky Irving thing, and he was he was awesome at catching the ball last year, but he's going to have to be even better at that this year because I don't think that Bucs offense is going to be. I think that that whole offense could regress. Honestly, is Baker going to have as good of a season as he did? Now that people have tape on him in Tampa. I don't think so. I just don't see it. So I'm down to James Cook or Jacobs, and people forget Cook had that stretch that was incredible. And then he tailed off for a couple of games. I had him in fantasy as well. And he's a little undersized, as explosive as he is. So I'm going Jacobs, and it's not just to be a Packers fan. I would go Josh Jacobs.
I like Jacobs because he's very underrated. He's only 26 years old in Dynasty. And he goes from a terrible offense to a rising, ascending offense. And he is going to be the main goal line guy. But still, I'd like to see what other wide receivers are out there rather than running backs.
So I'm going to ask you, Scott, if Nico Collins or DJ Metcalf are available, are you jumping on those guys right here?
I love Nico Collins, even though they got Stephon Diggs. I
There
think
you
Tank Dell is a little bit overrated. I know people will come for me for that.
All right.
But
Well,
when you look at a guy who's 165 pounds and broke his leg in a goal line scrum last year, they acquired Diggs last because you can't have Tank Dell on the field for every play.
No, you can't.
He's 165 pounds.
All right.
Nico Collins is the alpha. I think DK Metcalf's going to have a great year, and I have him ranked 16 at wide receiver. I love him this year. I would rather have Nico Collins. If you can get Nico Collins right now, I'd take him over all those running backs.
I love him too. All right. I got to hit it to William, Dad. I want you to have your take. I got to go to William and let him intro. We're 25 minutes in. He had issues.
Yeah.
Hey, William.
Just I want to keep going with the take. I love the take. I gotta intro him.
I'm sorry, guys.
William, Spencer, Fantasy's Phinest. Me and him have been talking for quite a while. Really cool dude. Tell people where to find your show, man.
You can find me on wherever you listen to podcasts. We're actually getting up to doing more consistent podcasts on YouTube. We have TikTok. You can find us across all social medias at Fantasy's Phinest. You can also check out articles. Me personally, you'll follow me on Twitter at hype_finest as well. I do write for Fantasy Data and was formerly writing for FF League Winners. They actually went into a different direction. They're doing more football content as opposed to fantasy football content. So that was a great opportunity to be able to write with those guys over there. But yeah, you can also find my writings and articles at fantasysfinest.com as well. Just getting started as far as I've been doing podcasting for about 3 years.
Nice.
This is our first season where we're going to start doing more video content. That's where it seems like the market is going.
So I actually started less than a year ago. I started in September, which is pretty cool. We've had some fun guests in the first year. It's got pretty good. I'll just name drop it really quick. Lamar Jackson requoted me last week, and when that happened, I was like, oh my gosh. I made a post, Lamar Jackson actually requoted it, and Cordell Stewart hopped in, and me and him went back and forth a little bit in a fun way. It was good.
That's good. That's good.
It was on a dual threat post, and I said, Cam isn't available. You got Lamar, and he recorded it with Doug Williams. So he threw some history in the post. It was pretty cool. So and then Cordell Stewart hopped in, and me and him had some comments that I made a post about him. It was pretty cool. But William, I think you're gonna love this because Scott.
Scott, nice to meet you. By the way,
he's named dropped some people, dude.
Hold on. Scott, did you say you're in the Fantasy Football Hall of Fame? Is that what I heard?
Fantasy Sports Writers Association's Hall of Fame inaugural class, along with Matthew Berry, Eric Carabell, and Greg Kellogg, and Greg Ambrosius. Yeah,
that's amazing.
Some good names right there.
Yeah, some people might know that Berry guy.
Okay, I have some fantasy questions for you guys. I want to hit the comments too. All right, so I'm going to do redraft, and then we'll hit some Dynasty. I'm just going to toss. I know we've got. So, William, you're an Eagles fan, right?
Definitely not. No. I'm from Philly.
Oh, you're not an Eagles fan? Okay.
No, I'm definitely not.
I just see you post about every team. I wasn't sure, actually.
Who's your team, William?
Dallas Cowboys.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Wait. All right. I gotta go.
Let me be on record as saying I'm one of those people. People either love or hate the Dallas Cowboys. I'm neither. I don't hate them. I don't love them.
I'm a Packer
I respect the Dallas Cowboys.
I'm a Packer fan, so I hate
their fans. Their fans are incredibly loyal. It's been
yes, they are.
Such a long time since they've made a deep playoff run. I respect their fans. They're incredibly loyal.
If you've been paying attention recently,
off any Raiders fans, but I don't understand the whole Raiders thing. The fans are tougher than the team. It's just the Raiders are another cornerstone franchise where the fans have suffered for a long time, but they're loyal too.
So Scott, I live 30 minutes south of Dallas, so I'm like 30 minutes from Cowboy Stadium. That's where I live.
Yeah.
So I hear Cowboys fans all the time, and I tried it for a while, and I couldn't do it. I'm going to give this guy a shout out because he's one of my favorites. Back It Up Binge, if you want a short podcast. He says he loves Scott Engel's Jim Zorn era cap. Very nicely done.
I like that. Thank you.
Nice.
Thank you
He's
very
really
much.
cool. He does short clips, mostly baseball. If you can't tell, he's an Orioles fan, but one of the nicest guys I know. Me and him still email all the time. He's really cool.
His Orioles are playing my Mets on
He's
early
probably
next week.
watching.
So hopefully the Mets can make the wild card. So.
And you would like him too because he does little snippets, and it's about like different players in MLB or NFL history, and he gives like a hot take on them, and it's just really cool. So anyway,
I'll just tell him I spent $20 for Adley Rutschman in my Tout Wars mixed auction.
We won. We talked him into Josh Jacobs.
There you go. Jacobs a good
There
pick.
we go. All right. So here's my question then, since we got a Cowboys fan. I'm going to phrase it like this. You're picking at number 2. Tyreek Hill is off the board. Would you take CeeDee Lamb or somebody else? William, we'll start with you since you're the Cowboys fan.
Honestly, I would take CeeDee Lamb. He's still going to be the focus point in the Dallas Cowboys offense. It is a little touch and go because you still want to see him in camp signed under a new contract. So I see why people actually had this conversation earlier today. A group of friends of mine were doing a draft, and they had asked me, who was the biggest steal in it or the best value in the draft because CeeDee Lamb fell to the 4th overall pick. But I would be comfortable picking CeeDee Lamb just simply because he's still going to be the focal point in that passing offense. He's going to see a bunch of targets. He's the number 1 wide receiver for the Dallas Cowboys. Whatever issues they have as far as contracts, it should be resolved before the beginning of the season because you don't want to go into week 1 not having your number 1 guy on the
that's
team.
That's a student of mine, and he's saying if the Cowboys sign him, that's my only concern. By the way, fantasy, totally off topic. Your YouTube expired. Somebody's letting you know.
Oh, appreciate it. I've been trying to figure that whole thing out. So the Discord thing is new. We've been trying some new things, so I'll get that updated.
You know what's funny is I'm kind of starting to fade if they don't report soon. I'm starting to get a little worried about CeeDee Lamb and Jamar Chase, but also Christian McCaffrey. I kind of think me and my dad were arguing with this. I think Tyreek Hill, if I was picking one, I'd go Tyreek Hill. And not in Dynasty, but in redraft and PPR, because McCaffrey's calf injury could linger, and Jamar Chase and Lamb haven't reported. And my concern is that's when injuries tend to happen. We're still early enough. If they report, I'm not worried. But if we get another 2 weeks in and we're a week out from the season and then they don't report, that's when a hamstring tends to happen. They're both younger, but I'd be worried about that.
You'll notice because you mentioned Dorsey Levens to me in the behind the scenes. Dorsey Levens was the first guy I remember who was a really good picture of when if somebody holds out, the longer they hold out, the more they just become an injury risk because they're not in proper game condition, no matter who they are. So right now I have CeeDee Lamb, number 3 overall, number 3 at wide receiver. I just bump him down 2 pegs in seasonal leagues because Tyreek Hill to me and him are tied at number 1 when I know Lamb is playing and then Chase is right behind him. But I'll bump him down 2 pegs. If anybody wants to take him number 1, I'm not going to argue with them. But in Dynasty, I don't bump down at all because this holdout could be forgotten by, say, week 3, and you're looking longer term in Dynasty. But for me, Lamb was the number 1 overall last year in total points and points per game at wide receiver, but Hill has been number 1 or number 2 in 3 of the last 4 years. So you can't go wrong either way in a seasonal league. In a dynasty, obviously Hill's a little. Lamb is younger, but like I was saying before, it's not like Tyreek Hill is 32 and you want to win this year. So in a dynasty league, I'll still take him pretty early.
Yeah, I would go 1 in Dynasty, but I would go pretty high, even in Dynasty. And my dad I'm picking 9 tomorrow. Dad, what pick are you in our league?
I'm 5.
He's 5. All right. Sorry, William. What were you going to say?
Who I'm taking.
No, the only thing I was going to say was Scott touched on it earlier, and you couldn't see me fist pumping because of my camera. But Breece Hall is a guy who I would pivot. If I have the 3rd overall pick and Christian McCaffrey and Tyreek Hill off the board, I'm fine taking either Breece Hall or Bijan Robinson, but I'm leaning towards Breece just because of what Scott said earlier. He's going to see so much work, and if Rodgers stays healthy.
Agreed.
Yeah, sorry. Didn't mean to interrupt you there, William.
No, you good.
The thing with McCaffrey is that sometimes people will overreact to preseason injuries when they're drafting, and this stuff could be forgotten by week 4. I know Izac said, maybe this lingers, but Deepak Chona, who's like one of the top injury experts on social media, pointed out that there's a very low chance of a re-injury risk when the grade of injury. But here's the thing. If I'm in a tight spot between a wide receiver and a running back, I always go the wide receiver because wide receivers generally tend to be more durable overall.
Somebody's got to take on this, man. I got to hit my dad. If Bill's taken first overall and I have the second pick, I'm taking Justin Jefferson because T.J. Hawkinson won't play the beginning of the season, will be returning from injury, and Addison got hurt. That's an interesting take. He does have less competition for targets now. That's interesting. I've been knocking Jefferson down just because of the quarterback play. But, Dad, floor is yours.
I'm just going to make it short and sweet. I mean, the guy was I think it was 100 points over the next running back in PPR last year. He's the king. It's McCaffrey for me at number 2. I'm happy to get him. And like Scott said, everything that I've found in researching in the preseason says that this injury is not going to be a lingering issue or injury. He's playing in a very an offense kind of tailor-made for him, I think. So it's just we're not going to see a running back like this have again the opportunity to repeat what he did last year. As long as he's healthy, he's going to be the RB1 in my opinion. So I take him at 2.
I love it. Okay.
Yeah, the thing with Addison, if you don't mind me popping
No. We can
allude
on that.
The thing with Addison is the injury is not considered serious. So that's the thing. I understand why people take caution, but if it's a minor preseason injury, it doesn't mean a whole lot. We can forget it by week 3. You might not even remember it at all. Right. But the thing is, with no Hawkinson there, I don't know if that doesn't help. You could say, okay, more targets for Jefferson, but Hawkinson draws defensive attention away, which helps Jefferson. Now, the thing with Jefferson is he's quarterback proof to me. He scored like over, I think, 19 PPR points per game in 2 of his last 3 games last year when Cousins was out. Now, some people like Frank Amarante, my good friend in the game, they will say, well, that was against the Lions.
No, it was consistent.
But a great player puts up good numbers in the matchup he's supposed to do it, and that's what he does.
Matchup proof.
He's quarterback proof, but I drop him down a few notches behind Chase to number 4 at running back and number 6 overall in my ranks on Rotoballer.
The only game that he really kind of struggled in that he played and he was healthy was against Gerald Alexander, and he still had 59 yards and 5 catches. So that wasn't a terrible game.
Points, yeah.
That's still 10 points. He still had 84 yards against the Bengals. I'm looking at his stats right now. The dude is receiver proof, and if you are not like me for football and you watched the receiver, you kind of respect the guy even more because the way he fought through injury, and he clearly wants it. William, I'm going to hit you and then my dad.
I only got one question for you, Mr. Engel. Are you confident that Sam Darnold can...
It's cool. We're all friends here.
Got you. Are you confident that Sam Darnold can stay as the QB1 for the entire season?
No, I'm not. No. I know there's people like Michael Salfino, and I'm just dropping all these names because I want people to follow them. They're good experts, and I like to give credit where credit is due to people in the industry. He's a big Jet fan. He writes for The Athletic. He's holding out that Sam Darnold is going to prove himself. But I've watched – look, Sam Darnold's had bad environments, but I've watched him play, and I still don't like his decision-making. And, that's what things hold it back for me. I could throw something out there. Now, I saw online. Now, I don't know this as a credible source. I'm not saying it isn't. I can't remember the name of it. And I'm not saying it's not legitimate that the Vikings actually contacted the Saints about acquiring Derek Carr because the Saints like Spencer Rattler so much.
What?
I don't know how much truth there is in it. Some research, but I think the Vikings, they can't be comfortable with what they have as a number 2. I would not be surprised if Russell Wilson does not have a good enough camp and they want to go with Justin Fields and Russell Wilson ends up in Minnesota.
Ooh, Ooh,
Big bold prediction there.
Dad.
Some backup is going to get traded there.
All right, Dad.
Yo,
I gotta ask you.
lands,
I gotta ask you. What do you think of that? And I know you like Spencer Rattler, Dad. What do you make of that?
It wouldn't be Derek Carr. If I was Minnesota, I'd try to get Spencer Rattler, but they're not going to get. That's a great.
Wilson would be in it. Russell Wilson would be interesting.
Russell Wilson coming over. Minnesota's going to need something, right?
They do.
Who's going to be the guy throwing the ball mid-season?
It sucks 2 years in a row it happened to them, too, with Kirk Cousins, right? After last year with Kirk Cousins, I actually, as a Packers fan, I feel bad for the Vikings because they had Kirk Cousins, and I'm not saying they were going to be contenders last year. You don't feel bad.
Here's something, and I'm just speculating. I'm just throwing stuff against the wall.
That's why I take Jefferson down a few. He's 5 on my list.
He's around like 6, 7 for me. It's not a play. He's probably the best player in the league, but I can't.
He's an exceptional receiver. So.
Yeah, I agree.
Just throwing this against the wall too. I have no inclination or report that's going to happen.
Okay.
The Seahawks have reportedly approached Geno Smith about a contract extension.
So how do you feel about that?
People will point to his age, which is 34, but let's remember he didn't start for a lot of years. So not the same wear and tear and hits on a 34-year-old. Yeah, and as we know, 34 is not the end of the line for a quarterback. What if the Vikings gave the Seahawks a really good offer and traded for Sam Howell?
Dude, I have a question for you because you were the Seattle guy. Okay.
Yeah.
And
I'm a New Yorker who's a big Seahawks fan.
Okay. Yeah. What is your thought on Geno with those weapons? Do you feel like it was the environment? Do you feel like he underachieved last season? Do you see him starting multiple seasons for you all, for the Seahawks? How do you feel about him?
I feel like he was. I guess I'll go way back, but all guys watch this. For anybody who watches the Three Stooges, he was a victim of circumstance. That defense spent so much time on the field that the Seahawks ran the least amount of offensive plays in any team in the NFL. And there were significant injuries on their offensive line. Michael Sean Dugar of The Athletic, who's the beat writer for the Seahawks, he believes that Abe Lucas is the best lineman, the right tackle that the Seahawks had in this significant time last year. Now that Lucas is supposed to be ready for week 1, and they added Connor Williams at center, who's supposed to be healthy, the protection will also be better. Geno last year ranked very high in the NFL according to Player Profile. I can't remember his numbers in deep ball completion percentage and pressured percentage, and also in the top 10 in deep ball catchable rate. So he's at a very good camp. I think with a better environment out there that Geno Smith is going to rebound, and I love him as a superflex too in a fantasy football superflex league. In my draft yesterday, I took Dak in the first round, William, at number 10, and I took Geno in the 6th round.
Smart move.
Nice.
And I backed it up with Darnold as my 3rd.
So here's my question. Do you think the running game – apparently the Vikings just signed a quarterback. I didn't see this. I'll look into it.
Okay, I didn't see that. Who was it, though? It's like, if we don't know his name, it can't be much.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the last couple hours I was hanging with the wife and doing my Twitter post. I didn't see it. So here's my question. Do they have the running game to support him? Because that is what, in my opinion, what made Jordan Love look better in the second half of the season was when the Packers offensive line gelled and Aaron Jones got healthy and he had ripped off 6 100-yard games in a row. That helped Jordan Love and the offense stabilize. And every quarterback, even Mahomes, needs a running game. Do you think the Seahawks are going to have that this year with Kenneth Walker, or are they going to somebody else, Charbonnet? What do you think about that?
By the way, I just looked that up. The Vikings signed Matt Corral, so it's not a guy who's going to challenge Darnold. This would be big news if you played UFL fantasy, maybe, but not an impact signing.
Nick Mullins, they still have Nick Mullins.
Mike McDonald has really talked up Kenneth Walker.
Yeah.
And this is a guy who can score from anywhere on the field. He's so explosive. I think it's going to be like a 65-35 split with him and Charbonnet. Kenneth Walker, a lot of fantasy analysts are saying he's been underdrafted. I have him ranked 14th at running back.
Okay. Well, I have to ask some Packer questions. Dad, I'm going to let you start, and we'll kick it around. I'll go last, okay? We'll do another Cowboys one, too. I want to ask about Dak. All right. I asked this on Twitter today, and I posted it on TikTok and YouTube and Facebook. Dad, I'm going to start with you, okay? I don't think you saw the question.
Okay, I'm looking up Kenneth Walker for me.
Okay, you can throw that in your take, too. Do you think Jordan Love, Dad, can repeat as a top 5 fantasy quarterback this season?
I think the answer to that is he can.
Okay, will he?
He's got, and I think he's got enough weapons around him with Watson, with Dobbs, with Reed, the 2 tight ends, Jacobs added to it. They're a young, ascending team. They're going in the right direction. Love had the time to develop. He showed last year late, the last second half of the year, what he could do. He definitely can be a top 5 quarterback. He could be a top 3 quarterback. I just think that it's not just Love. There's a lot of quarterbacks out there that can vie for that top 5, spot or spots, I guess. So I like Love. I think he's going to have a really, really good year. Should he be a top 5 quarterback? I'm going to just say probably. That's my answer, is probably.
Can I rebut? I'm going to rebuttal really quick before I kick it. I'm going to go William and Scott. I'm just going to add a little tidbit here. My only concern why I would say I think just outside the top 5 is we had so many injuries last year. Like, I think Dak is going to stay healthy and be pretty solid in fantasy because they don't have a running game. Jalen Hurts is the one that's interesting. I'm worried. I'm wondering if Saquon's going to help or take some TDs away from Jalen Hurts. And we'll see how who's the OC? Philly, Kellen Moore. I think that's going to help that offense. Lamar Jackson is another one. It's kind of like Jalen Hurts, where I'm wondering if Derrick Henry is going to be a TD vulture and take away from Lamar Jackson's touchdowns. Love finished 5, but you got candidates right below him. Purdy, Goff, and Mahomes could return to form, even with Hollywood Brown out. You got Tua, but you got guys like Joe Burrow that are going to be healthy, maybe. So with quarterback health, hope probably improving because it was at a historic rate. I got to drop Love just outside, even though I think he could be good. So, William, what do you think?
You stole my thunder.
Sorry, man.
But I agree, because you do have Patrick Mahomes coming back with some new weapons. Hopefully Marquise Brown come back to the field a little bit sooner. Travis Kelce is actually, hopefully he starts the season healthy. Remember last year he got injured during training camp and he had to start the season with that banged up knee.
And then he hit the ankle midseason too.
Yep. So hopefully he comes back. Yeah, he starts back healthy. You got Kyler Murray coming back. You got Joe Burrow coming back. It's a QB deep position, but you have a lot of guys that have the potential to push him out of the top 5. Maybe top 10. I think he can finish top 10. But Jordan Love in the top 5 with all those big names coming back with different situations is going to be really tight.
I'd have him around 8. I think that's a safe landing spot.
I can see that. And then you got incumbent guys you got incumbent guys like Jared Goff and Brock Purdy, who you mentioned. They could possibly end up somewhere in the top 10 that could push him down even further. I like the Packers. I like Jordan Love. The only thing that concerns me is the fact that he doesn't have, at least in my opinion, he doesn't have a legit number 1 wide receiver. A guy that he can go to when you need that first down or you need that score at the end of the game. He has a lot of decent guys. I'm personally hoping that Christian Watson can stay on the field because I feel like he's the most dynamic receiver out of the bunch. And like my kind of sleeper pick is Jaden Reed. I like him.
Watch out for Wicks. I like Dontavian Wicks. I'm curious what Scott thinks of him in a second, but I like him.
I kind of feel like Wicks is he's a sleeper, but he's like that. He's kind of like fool's gold. Because
that was my thought on Bo Melton.
That's good too.
Good take though.
I like him, but there's just, if those other guys stay healthy, he's not going to see the field. So that's all. But
that's a problem.
Back to your point, Love has the potential to be a top 10 quarterback in fantasy, but it's going to be a lot tighter this year if everybody stays healthy.
Hey, and thank you for hopping on short notice. We had somebody else planned, so I appreciate it. You're coming on next week again too with my other show, so that's gonna be fun. So I'll hype that in a little bit. Scott, okay, wait, hold on, really quick. Sailor Mouth's got something on this. Dontavian Wicks is the top 5 route runner in the league. The funny thing is, I don't remember his 40 time, but it's really lackluster. But he was able to get separation from corners pretty routinely in the second half of last season. Curious what more tape's going to do. Scott, I got to hear your thoughts on this.
On Jordan Love or Dontavian Wicks?
Let's start with Jordan Love since that was the original, and then we'll hit Wicks.
Okay. Music is timeless, right? Like, you guys know who Madonna is, you know who Mariah Carey is, so we could get punny with this love stuff all day. You know, you could say, let's do like Madonna was trying to justify my love here. You know, we could go for Mariah Carey and say, you know, we thought last year, but that love takes time, but now we had a vision of love, and it was more than you given to me. So I like Mariah Carey. I don't think care if anybody.
Hey, man, no, I like it.
Yeah. So anyway,
I'm just gonna be honest.
Your question: Can he be top 5 this year? I certainly think he can. I know Williams says he doesn't have a pure number 1, but I think Christian Watson can kind of be that number 1 for him if he stays healthy. You guys know he's a durability risk, but his receiving core is so deep, and he can spread the ball around and challenge defenses so much that his floor is a top 10 fantasy quarterback. His ceiling is a top 5. As far as Dontavian Wicks, that Packers wide receiver room is great for NFL purposes because it's so deep. Plus, you have the tight ends also. Mm-hmm. But it's going to make things very unpredictable fantasy-wise. Everybody loves Dontavian Wicks, but what if Watson stays healthy, gets bumped down in the order? You got Jaden Reed, you got Romeo Doubs. You don't know where the ball's going all the time. I fade the Packers wide receivers a lot in fantasy football because I just can't rely on them.
Just got to get love.
I think I'm gonna.
All you need is.
I have some other fun topics we haven't hit yet that I want to, because we'll go for a little while. It's Friday night. Okay, I'm curious how Josh Jacobs is gonna do, but I agree with you on Wicks, even though I like him, because here's the problem. So you got Watson. If he can stay healthy, his flash potential. Jaden Reed as a rookie looked pretty solid at the end of last season. He personally talks about Romeo Doubs all the time. I'm a Packer nut. I watch all the stuff, but I follow all the teams. They're just my team. But then you got Wicks at 4. You've got Bo Melton, an undrafted rookie who kind of looked like Donald Driver at the end of last season. You got him at 5. The problem is Malik Heath even floats splash potential. Then you got Sammy Torre at the 7. We're 7 deep. And then they got Grant DeBoe, who didn't even play as a rookie, who I've heard and in camp his flash potential. We are 8 guys deep. How many are you going to be able to keep on the roster?
Something from camp. Let me add something from camp.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
Matt LaFleur was asked the question by a reporter. Are you concerned at all that – I think the question was, are you concerned that you don't have a true number 1? And LaFleur's response was he's a little frustrated with that he keeps getting that question. He feels, and I think this is really just part of the Packers system that Love has bought into, is that do the Packers want a true number 1 like they used to have, or do they want the core receiving, the group that they have, and to keep it like that, so that to keep the defenses guessing, and where the ball.
I think that's a good take. I think that's a lot of it, actually.
Plus, you have the young receivers progressing at the same rate with the quarterback. They all ascend together, and that's rare.
So we got some comments,
right? And I think that's what Matt LaFleur is kind of pushing and hoping for.
We got some comments I'm going to hit really quick because we've had such good conversation. I haven't thrown them in enough. In a world where the Packers team core stays healthy this year, Romeo Doubs taking a big step back. I think there's some truth to that, but he loves them in the red zone, so his yardage may go down. But his red zone targets, I think he's going to be the favorite guy in the red zone unless one of these tight ends excels. Well,
hold on for a second. Isn't Doubs and Watson? They're going to be the 2 receivers that are on the field.
We're going to run 3 receiver splits with Jaden Reed and Wicks rotating at the 3. But I think Reed is going to lock down that spot, and Wicks will only get playing time if there's injuries, which there has been both years with both guys, Watson especially. But Doubs has missed games too. So it's going to be interesting.
I pulled my hamstring just talking about Watson last week.
Well, that's my concern. I just don't trust the guy. I got to see him stay healthy.
Yeah.
I want him to. Like, he looks awesome, and that's not just as a Packer fan, but I can't trust that he's staying healthy. It's just like our corner. Like, I can't trust. I'm trying to remember Stokes. I don't trust him or Watson staying healthy. That's why I've got the guys behind them in IDP, or which we're doing for the first time too, or at receiver. I've got them bumped because I got to see these guys play full season.
Fade those receivers.
I agree with him, though. I think Love could be a top 10 QB without a top 25 fantasy receiver. It's possible. We got some comments. Of all the Packers receivers mentioned, do they all make the final 53? I think they only can carry 6, 7 max. And that's if they cut a running back, and they're going to have to make a hard decision on A.J. Dillon or Wilson. And I don't know what they're going to do. Because I don't think they can keep 4 running backs and 7 or 8 receivers. They just can't. So that's going to be interesting. And I know they like Grant DeBoe, so I think he actually is going to make the roster as like the receiver 7. They may end up having to cut Heath. I don't know. And he looked solid at moments. Jason's got a bold prediction. This is something. He says no Josh Allen, no Jalen Hurts. He has Jordan Love as the fantasy quarterback 1 this year.
I take it Jason is a Packers fan.
Yeah, I invited him on. He's a diehard.
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah, nicely played. Jason, are you a Packers fan? You should answer for everybody.
Sounds like it.
Okay, I got some fantasy questions. I'll hit Dak in a minute. I'm going to give you guys either or, okay? You can pick whatever spot you want in the draft. You're up. These guys are available. I'm going to give you some either ors. You got about a minute because I want to go through a few rounds, okay? I'm going to hit William first, Scott, my dad, and then I'll answer last every round. But we'll rotate the order. All right. You're up in your draft. We'll just say the first round. And you've got – this is a fun one. We've already kind of answered this, so I'll give you another one. You've got Jonathan Taylor, Puka Nacua, Jahmyr Gibbs. Those 3 guys are available. Who would you draft? Let's just keep it PPR. We can do some Dynasty at the end of the show. Who would you draft? Taylor, Nacua, or Gibbs? I'll put it in the comments so you guys can see it. I'll put it in the comments. Hold on.
Give me Puka Nacua. I mean, he's going to see. I think people are worried about Cooper Kupp taking over or cutting into his work, but there's so much. I feel like there's so much volume in the Rams' offense. You don't got to worry about that too much. And then Cooper Kupp is a little bit older anyway. So if he goes down again, you saw what happened over the first 4 weeks about what he can do. So I like Puka Nacua.
So here's the question: Puka, Taylor, or Gibbs in PPR? Scott, or no, sorry, I said Dad. Dad, who do you got?
No, I think Scott's next.
Oh, Scott's next. Okay, sorry.
Doesn't matter. Dad first, but I'll go Jonathan Taylor. I think with the RPO threat of him and Anthony Richardson over a full year, I think he bounces back nicely. To William's point, I like Puka. I think people might be overrating the Kupp comeback, and I talk about don't get too caught up in minor preseason injuries. He's getting bumped down in some drafts because of the preseason bursa sack injury. So I'll gladly take him in the second round. Jahmyr Gibbs is more of a concern because he's got a hamstring, and hamstring tend to nag.
Good take. Saylor said he would take Jonathan Taylor as 0 competition. Dad, who would you take? Puka,
all right, for the sake
Taylor,
of argument,
Gibbs?
For the sake of argument, I'm gonna take Jahmyr Gibbs, right?
Okay.
Actually, I would. He is rated highest on my list. He's 5.2 yards per carry as a rookie. I understand the hamstring. What I've read about it is that it's a mild variety, and that he'll be fine for the start of the season. I'm not shying away from Gibbs, and I do have him slightly above Nacua and Taylor. I love Taylor this year, by the way, but Gibbs is squarely, for me, he's my number 3 running back behind Bijan and Breece Hall. I love me some Gibbs. The other thing to consider too is that your team name could be like Baby Back Gibbs, right? Baby Back.
Nicely played.
That's a good one.
Just
That's
to throw this
good.
in there, second-year running backs tend to, that's the biggest year that they jump in their stats, and that's where Gibbs is at. So I'm looking for him to improve on his stats from last year. So I would go with Gibbs.
Okay, I'm going to shock you. Because of the injury, I put Gibbs last. I really like Taylor if Anthony Richardson stays healthy. I think as a running quarterback, yeah, he could poach some TDs and some rushing production, but it usually enhances the running back, I think, if Taylor's as good as we think. But I'm going to go Nakua here because I really like the Blake Corum pickup if Kyron Williams misses games. I think it's going to stabilize the Rams' running game. I think Kyron, if he can stay healthy, will be a monster. But whether Cooper Kupp is healthy or not, that's going to make the offense tougher to defend because I think that they're going to have a consistent running game. And I really like Puka Nacua. I don't know if Cooper Kupp, yeah, he was great for like a year and a half. He's 31. I think Nacua is going to take over. I really do. I was going to ask another fantasy question, but we got one in the comments. Who should we keep? Jameson Williams, Khalil Shakir, or Josh Palmer?
That's a keeper.
Ooh, that's a keeper league. I'm out on Jameson Williams. I think I'd go Shakir here because I actually think Ladd is going to be the guy in L.A. if Quentin Johnson can't figure it out. I like Shakir because I think the Bills are going to have somebody. And Keon Coleman, he's a little slower, and I'm worried he's not going to be fast enough at this level. As much as I like Curtis Samuel, Josh Allen's just been a machine. I'd go Shakir.
That's just agreeing with you on this one.
Yeah? Hot take. All right, let's go.
In camp, he's speedy. He's playing on a great team with a great offensive line, obviously. And, Detroit is, they're a Super Bowl contender. I like Jameson Williams, but Josh Palmer, he's the only guy that has any connection with Herbert there. And,
you got his name, Dad.
In LA. So I got his name right this time.
He meant pickup. He meant pickup
to go
from waivers. That's what he meant.
Palmer. I think I'm going Palmer there. Scott, what do you got?
I'm unquestionably going Jameson Williams.
Not the only
go to Seahawks.com, go to News, Fantasy Insider, check out my Sleepers article, which is featured prominently right now on Seahawks.com. Khalil Shakir, I'm sorry, Isaac. Overrated for fantasy purposes. He is not capable of being a featured receiver. He's a very good third wide receiver in the NFL. Coleman, everybody talking about he can't separate. I think over time, season progresses, you can't count. You could probably count more on Curtis Samuel as a regular receiver than Khalil Shakir. Jameson Williams has significant upside. This is the first time that he's going to have an uninterrupted preseason and beginning to the regular season. There's huge upside there in a terrific offense. It's easily Jameson Williams for me.
I got to see him be consistent, but I like that take. All right, I got one for you.
Somebody's got to be that number 2 wide receiver slot in Detroit is there for the taking for him.
Oh, absolutely. You got Sam Laporta.
I like Scott right here.
Yeah, I know, right? See, the reason I invited you, dude, is I didn't know Scott personally yet, but I've watched enough of your TikToks. I know it'd be a blast. I'm sorry about your internet, but I knew it would just be fun. So, all right, here's my next question.
You don't know me personally yet. Don't assume nothing. All right? What's my favorite movie?
What's my favorite movie?
Yeah.
Ooh. What genre? Oh, man, that's tough. I've got so many. You know what's funny is I used to be an entertainment editor in college.
What do you think is my favorite movie?
What do I think is your favorite movie?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Godfather.
What's that?
No.
What did you say?
Give us the genre first.
Or decade.
Sports. Yeah.
Oh, sports? I'm going to go Rudy.
But you still won't get it.
Rudy.
Yeah. Nope.
No.
Not Rudy. Okay.
It was a franchise. It was more than one film. Well, more than one film.
More than one film. It was a sports franchise.
Several.
The Mighty Ducks.
No. Come on. And there was a recent spinoff that was very popular.
Oh.
Now I'm stumped.
Oh man, that's making me mad.
Rocky 3.
Oh,
yeah.
That's
a good
my
one.
favorite. That makes me so mad. I should have known that. They did just do
not a
Creed 3.
team sport, though, but
No, the Creed movies were great. Creed 1 was
Creed 2 was the best one, I thought.
You like Creed 2? I liked Creed 2. I honestly liked the Creed 3 was interesting because it was cool watching him be the director. And the villain was fun, but Creed 2 was great. I wish that Sylvester Stallone had still been in it, honestly, with Creed 3. That was the one.
A lot of people did. I'm not going to spend a lot of time with this, but if anybody has a connection to Michael B. Jordan, I don't want to make any money off of this, but I just want 3 minutes with him to tell him my idea of an Apollo Creed prequel series or movie.
I heard that they're moving forward with a spinoff, and I don't know if it's going to be a movie or series, and it's rumored. Like how you've got these NFL things, and I know some. I like research about movies heavily too. Like I'm just as tapped into that as I am with the NFL. And they're trying to do something else. I know they're going to do a Creed 4. I don't know if they're going to bring Sylvester Stallone back, but there was this movie that Sylvester Stallone wanted to make. He wanted to direct it with somebody completely different. I don't know if they're ever going to make it or not. Now that he's doing the Tulsa King series, but oh man, Michael B. Jordan would be amazing. Seriously, gosh.
3 or 4 minutes with him to tell him
I'll work on it. Hey, if I get him on, I'll bring you on.
I go down these Creed rabbit holes. They've even had he has this whole Creed universe that has comic books. I've read all the comic books. You ever get Michael B. Jordan on, I have to be on just to tell him my fantastic idea for Apollo Creed miniseries or
what's your idea?
Movie.
Tell everybody your idea. What's your idea?
Oh, you got to sign an NDA after the show. No. Okay. Ready? Here goes. I want to get too off the tangent because I am such a big fan of Carl Weathers and Apollo Creed. It's like, by the way, if you haven't watched the director's cut of Rocky 4,
it's better. It's a lot better.
Yeah,
I just watched it this year, and Rocky 4 was. The director's cut was a lot better. It actually made it.
So anyway, my idea is that Adonis gets approached by an old sports writer who was a friend of Apollo's and said, "I want you to have this. Your father was working on his memoirs just before he died, and I want to give you the manuscript now that." You've had so much success, etc. Mm-hmm. And then Adonis picks it up. He starts reading it. You hear narration, and then it moves into the story about how his father was this tremendous athlete, and then met his mother, and then his father got killed in a car accident or something like that. Because Duke will say, Apollo was like a son to me. I raised him, and Duke was very good friends with his father, and then raised Apollo. And it goes into his whole career before he met Rocky, because his record was 46-0 with all by knockout. That's incredible. So it'll make for a great story about how he met his wife Marianne, all of that, and how he won the title from George Foreman, which is canon. So that's the layout of my idea.
Oh, I like that. I think that would actually be a pretty big hit, because I think that was really smart of the Rocky movies to bring Apollo back as the trainer. And it kind of, what's funny is it set it up for future franchises, like silly ones, but like even like the Fast and Furious, is to make these villains and then bring them back as friends. And they did that in Rocky, and that was one of the first franchises to do that, where, I mean, it's not like he's, this awful bad guy, but he's the antagonist. He's not the protagonist, he's the antagonist. And then they bring him back to help the protagonist, who, honestly, by Rocky 3, Sylvester Stallone had changed a lot. The character had changed. So that really did help that movie. And, you had Ice-T. I mean,
I will just say that
Rubber was pretty
simple on this is I still can't get over Apollo's death after all these years. I wrote an article about it a few years ago, and Carl Weathers said he liked it. on social media, so that meant a lot to me. And I actually mentioned Apollo Creed prequel series. Carl Weathers said very interesting idea, which I appreciated. He interacted a lot on Twitter.
Comments from
With
Carl
the
Weathers?
fans, but I'll just wrap a bow on this.
Wow.
But
That's
by saying the director's cut of Rocky IV makes Apollo look much more respectable in the end.
Oh, for sure. Nice. Yeah. You know what? I think it's healthy to have good tangents. On my other show, we talked about Little Debbie snacks, and it was a blast. So I think
I can't eat this sugar. I can't.
I know,
Look, it's like I gotta watch my sugar. I'm drinking Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. Stop! We're not talking about Little Debbie.
This is an unsweet tea with sweet and low, and I'm only 36, and that's what I'm doing because too much sugar destroys me. So my dad, is that water? There you go, Dad. Okay, here's my question for y'all. Tell you what, let's go. I don't care. Whoever wants to go first, honestly, I'll go last. Who'd you take as your quarterback one if everyone was available? But you're going to take a quarterback. Who'd you go with?
Who's going first?
Tell you what, I'll go. I would not take Jordan Love. I mean, the dude has been unblemished as the quarterback one. I'll go Josh Allen. And I know this is going to shock because he gets hurt every 5 seconds, so I wouldn't actually do it. But if Burrow can stay healthy, I think he's one of the few guys who could challenge for it, even without his rushing production. But I would go Josh Allen or Hurts. You have to. Mahomes' weapons are, is Rice going to get suspended? Brown's already hurt, and Worthy is 160 pounds.
Actually, I'm sorry to interrupt, but everything I've been seeing, it seems like an outside shot of Rice getting suspended.
That's what I'm hearing too, and I'm shocked because
nobody can accurately guess on these things, though. No. I mean, William knows he's a Cowboys fan. Everybody tried to guess on Ezekiel Elliott suspension. No, nobody really had it down. You never know what the league office is going to do.
They do what they want. If Rashee Rice had a star on his helmet, he'd have been suspended before he got off the highway.
They don't want Chiefs players out because, I'm just being honest, Taylor Swift is still dating Kelsey. They might get engaged.
Oh, my God.
The Chiefs are the biggest NFL team. That is I know the Cowboys are worth over $10 billion. That's good. But the Chiefs are going back-to-back, and they want the Chiefs to be as relevant as possible. Taking Rashee Rice out would hurt the Chiefs and their image. And they've already
what's going on?
So much this offseason. There's some Bucker stuff and the Rashee Rice stuff. Patrick Mahomes probably pulled those two aside and was like, "Can you dummies stop? We're trying to make NFL history. Can you stop?"
That's all right. It'll be Justin Ross season if they keep it up.
Well played. Okay, William, who would you take as your quarterback one? Would it be Dak or somebody else?
I've actually won fantasy leagues with Dak as my QB1. One guy that I've never had a chance to have on my fantasy team in any league is Patrick Mahomes.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Lamar Jackson. Okay.
No, I kind of stay away from him because when he got banged up 2 years in a row, I kind of stayed away from him. But I've never had Patrick Mahomes on any of my fantasy teams since he's been in the league. I would like to see how that would go if I could get Patrick Mahomes without messing up my strategy. But every time I draft, man, I can get Dak later on. I draft with Eagles fans, so they'll hem and haw. I got like maybe one Eagles fan who will buck the trend and take Dak Prescott because he knows I'm gonna take him later on. So, but Patrick Mahomes.
I'm gonna throw you guys a curve because I'm trying to throw my dad off. We've done like 2 or 3 mocks, and we're gonna do another one after this probably. And I got to give him different names because I'm in like 3 leagues with them. So I need to think that I like these players just to throw them off. So I'm going to take Jalen Hurts because I think that Kellen Moore is going to help that offense. And I think this friction with the head coach is baloney. So take what I'm saying with whatever grain of salt you want.
You just said you were taking Josh Allen number 1.
No, I'll go Jalen Hurts. I'm giving you different names. I
conspiracy theories and now flip-flopping.
Oh, absolutely.
Scott, he's trying to throw his dad off the scent.
Lamar Jackson, CJ Stroud. I can't let my dad know what I actually think. No, I actually probably would go Jalen Hurts. I think that Kellen Moore, offensive play calling is huge in the NFL, and I think that actually is going to stabilize the Eagles. Josh Allen's lost his best 2 weapons. I actually think Hurts could overtake him as the QB1 this year. Dad, what do you think?
I actually have Hurts as my number one. I think the running.
I know you do.
Wow.
The running component there, the tush push is going to continue. I think.
Kelsey, though.
I think what puts him over the top. If he wasn't such a talented, get so many yards on the ground as a running quarterback, I just have to put Hurts there. So he's my number one.
I'm going to say, if anybody wants to take Hurts first, I'm not going to argue with them vehemently, but I will challenge some points here. People say Josh Allen lost his best wide receivers. Josh Allen still put up terrific numbers while Stephon Diggs had a terrible second half of the season last year. Gabriel Davis was very inconsistent. Josh Allen is the best combination rushing, passing quarterback in the NFL. He's my number one. With Jalen Hurts, yeah, there'll be a tush push, but now they got Saquon Barkley, the best running back he's ever played with. Saquon Barkley is going to vulture some touchdowns. Now, we can easily talk about number one, number two, but you go QB sleeper, Will Levis of the Tennessee Titans. The Titans have cleared the runway for him to start. When an NFL front office takes the time or clears the runway for a guy to be the starter with no challenge, I take notice of that. The talent evaluators, what they're going to do. The kid is also not afraid to gun the ball. Now he's got Calvin Ridley. He's got Tyler Boyd. And
Tony Pollard.
Tony Pollard, I'm not big on. Tajay Spears. DeAndre Hopkins when he gets healthy. Will Levis, fantasy sleeper quarterback.
I like you, Scott.
Someone said it in the comments. How high would you guys go on CJ Stroud this year with those weapons and with the running back? How high would you guys go on CJ Stroud if you were?
I have him ranked fifth at quarterback. He doesn't rush as much as Richardson. Actually, I think. Wait, I have it. Allen, Hurts, Mahomes, Richardson, Stroud. So yes, I do have him fifth, but I'd rather have Richardson for the rushing upside. Very, very good fantasy quarterback. Not saying anything negative about him, but he's not as proven as the other elite quarterbacks. He doesn't have the rushing upside of Richardson.
Same here. I got him on my 6 on my board. That's all I got.
Yeah, he's about.
Who do you have ahead of him?
Oh, Richardson, Allen, Mahomes, Hurts, and
Jackson. You know what? I have the 6. I got Jackson fourth. I'm with you. Yeah.
My quarterback.
In my top.
I'm going to go Allen 1, Hurts 2. I still got to give Lamar Jackson 3. I'm going to go Dak 4, Jordan Love 5, and then I'm going to go CJ Stroud 6. Here's my problem with
where's Mahomes? You didn't mention him.
I got him at 7. Last year he was the quarterback 8.
This is anti-Chief.
He was the quarterback 8 last year.
I can't. He's got the deepest and best receiving crew of his career. There's no way I'm ranking him lower than 4.
Okay, fair enough. No, you might be right. I'm just Hollywood Brown.
If I'm wrong, no, I'll give you credit.
The problem with I'm going to bring it back on. I'm going to be like, hey, he finished 7th. The problem is Hollywood Brown's little, and he gets hurt all the time. And Xavier Worthy, as great as his speed is, I need to see him stay healthy and what he's got at the NFL level. Kelsey's going to be 35 this year. We saw him starting to slow down last year. Rashee Rice was getting better. And if he doesn't get suspended, that could be it. That might be enough with him and Kelsey. But those other two, they're really small receivers. I'm worried about their injuries. And Brown has been historically injury prone. So that's my concern with Hollywood Brown.
Yeah, but Patrick Mahomes makes every receiver he plays with better. And if those guys play most of the year, he's going to be a top 4 fantasy quarterback, unquestionably.
The reason I knocked Stroud down is because he didn't punch the ball in the red zone. I want to see what happens this year, even with those weapons, because just like Jordan Love, teams are going to have tape on him. So I'm wondering if Love and Stroud are both going to start slower. The Will Levis train is interesting because I've been hearing about that. But on Love and Stroud, my concern is teams are going to have tape on them, and I think they're going to end stronger than they start this year, even in their second year. That's my thought on that. So Okay, I got a couple more, and then I'm going to try to be good about time. I'm trying to make my shows an hour and a half or shorter, and we got about 10 more minutes. I got one last topic for you guys. Who is, and I can throw in the comments if you want, who is your favorite guy? Man, I really want to hit sleepers. But actually, you know what? I'm going to change it up. Let's do a Dynasty question. Who would be your highest stash rookie in Dynasty? I don't know, William, if you play or not. What would be one of the first? What would be one of the first rookies at any position you would take? Well, let's just stay on offense. We won't worry about IDP. Quarterback, running back, receiver, tight end. What would be one of the first rookies you would take to stash on your Dynasty squad?
It's not a super flex.
No, I won't do super flex because we're not playing super flex.
It's Brian Thomas Jr. I really like. He was one of my favorite wide receivers coming out of the NFL draft. I was particularly watching him and Rome Odunze and seeing where they were going to land. For a while, it's been tight between those two. Those are my two favorites because Marvin Harrison Jr. He's got a great spot with the Arizona Cardinals, but he was at the top of the draft anyway. So I like him, but he's like, he's going to be the top guy. So Rome Odunze and Brian Thomas were my two favorites after him. And Brian Thomas's situation looks great for what he could do immediately. He's been having a great camp. He's got the opportunity because there's a bunch of targets left over from Calvin Ridley being gone, from Zay Jones being traded. I think Christian Kirk takes a hit because they got bigger bodies on the outside now with Gabriel Davis, though, like Scott said, he's been inconsistent and injured. But I really like Brian Thomas. Like, he's a deep threat. He can play all over the field, in my opinion. And if Trevor Lawrence can stay healthy and they get that offense back on track, Brian Thomas is going to be a nasty piece to watch out there. And if I can get him in he's the guy that I'm targeting in all my fantasy drafts.
I liked him too. I mean, he only had one season. That's my only concern, but I liked him too. He was somebody I was really high on. I did a lot of rookie scouting because I just started and I had so much fun with those mock drafts. My dad probably did, 20 with me, 15 at least. So I agree with you. Good take, dude. Marvin Harrison's going to be a beast. Dad, I'm going to come to you after Scott here, and I'll go last, okay? What's your first rookie to stash in a PPR Dynasty, Scott? Who would you have?
Ricky Pearsall of the 49ers.
Ooh,
either one or both of Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk might not be there next year, and maybe this year. So if Ayuk gets traded, he's no longer a stash. So then I would go Malachi Corley of the New York Jets. We don't know if Rodgers is going to be there next year. So what the quarterback situation is. Corley is already showing that he needs to fine-tune some things at the NFL level, but he's been compared to Deebo, and I think over time, if you're patient with him in Dynasty, he's going to pay off nicely.
Nicely done.
I like that one.
Thanks, both of you guys. Great stuff. Seriously, I like both of them. In the comments, we've got an interesting one here. Vidal, which is somebody I've heard a lot about. Troy Franklin is another rookie stash for PPR. Brock Bowers, my problem is the quarterback situation.
Respectfully, Bowers is not a stash. He's a top 10 fantasy tight end right away.
I know. Like, I can't say Marvin Harrison, even though it was a stash question, but yeah. Dad, give away your secrets before the draft. What you got?
We're drafting tomorrow. I'm not sure if you guys are aware. And Isaac, in my...
Are we still live for the draft?
So this is a fishing expedition.
At 7 p.m. Eastern, are we going to go live for the draft? Should we do that? I think we should. Yeah, probably.
I'm not sure.
He's like, I don't know if I want to do that.
I like Brian Thomas Jr. Obviously, what I heard about Kirk was that Kirk is coming off the field more often. Thomas is playing outside.
Mm-hmm.
So and
those two wide receiver sets.
And I think Thomas, Isaac and I, we scout a little bit. We scout the draft a little bit, and we were just like, this guy belongs in the up with the top 3 guys.
He was flying.
I love me some Neighbors. I think Neighbors is going to be, but he's not really he's not a deep stash, right? So Thomas is my guy, and
I got one for you.
I love Jaden Daniels.
Okay.
From a potential perspective, he again, I think he's at 4. Is he at 4.3 speed, Jaden Daniels?
Ooh, I think
He's like 6.
it was pretty good.
Let me check him out real quick. But I think his speed is just phenomenal. He's got a gun. He's got an arm. He's going to make that Washington offense go. From a dynasty perspective, I think, I like him a little bit over Caleb just because of how explosive he is.
He ran a 4.32 at the LSU Pro Day. 4.32.
4.32. A quarterback.
That's stupid. That's pretty stupid.
42-inch vertical. He's extremely explosive, right? And he can
yeah,
gun,
42 inch.
With all respect, Tom, though, he's not a stash. He's not
a stash. I just had to mention him. I understand.
Okay. Yeah.
I understand that.
Okay, I got one that I think is considered a stash.
I want to throw out there.
So I got you. Good finish. Yeah, good.
For late in the draft, and Izac, Dylan Labe is that?
Oh yeah. Yep.
He is getting some first team looks. He looks like he's going to be able to fit right in. He's a receiving. He's good at receiving. He can block well. The coaches already trust him. He looks like he could be a good stash.
Okay, I don't want to give 5 because I want them to have time to do their. Okay, yeah. This is one of mine actually. Marshawn Lloyd is not the first name I was going to mention, but he is one because I think he can take the running back 2 job in Green Bay. And if Josh Jacobs doesn't return to form, this guy's elusive. His elusivity is off the charts. I liked him at USC, but he wasn't the name I was going to mention first. It is Ladd McConkey. I think with the Chargers, he's actually has a really good chance to be pretty awesome this year. He might be their receiver 1 right out the gate. And I think it's a stash because he wasn't a high, he was, second round pick. The problem, the thing here though, is that Justin Herbert is, man, it's like Josh Allen. He produces fantasy gold. Somebody's going to catch the ball with the Chargers. I know they're going to be a little more run first with Harbaugh there, but someone's going to have to produce, and they don't have a lot. So I like Ladd McConkey just for sheer volume. I think that, and I really do think he's got a chance to click with Herbert and develop something special. I like him.
I'll say 2 things about McConkey. Sorry if I interrupted you.
You got I got a couple other names after.
I like McConkey a lot. I have him ranked as like a top 44 wide receiver in seasonal leagues.
Yeah.
Not a stash. Dynasty players are well aware of Ladd McConkey. I love the Dylan Laube. That's a good stash.
Okay.
Ladd McConkey, not a stash. He's actually going to be a great possession wide receiver right away. I think help move the sticks, which they don't do anymore in the NFL. Now they're going to have the virtual first down line, but I don't know if they could bring it up for the regular season. But he could be a real reliable wide receiver right away for Justin Herbert. I don't think he's a stash.
Okay.
I would draft him over Jackson Smith in the seasonal league. I think because he's going to be. I think he's that much featured. I know the Chargers are going to run the ball a lot, but when they throw, Herbert's going to like him. So I'm with you. I like McConkey. He's just not a stash.
Okay, so these might be stash plays then. Even though James Conner could miss time, Trey Benson could take the job in Arizona. I don't know if you'd consider him a stash play. He's not that much further down.
He is a stash. I don't think he gets a start unless Conner gets injured, but Conner gets injured often. I think Benson will be their starting running back after this year. And with Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison and Trey McBride, the Cardinals have something special in offense in Arizona. If Wilson can be a decent second receiver, that offense could be pretty special if Benson is as good as I think he is from college. So I like him as a stash. Like I already said, Marshawn Lloyd, I think if Jacobs doesn't return to form, he could steal that job by 2025. I like him. Here's a stash for you guys. Jermaine Burton with the Bengals, because I don't think they're going to be able to keep T. Higgins. And this dude, his catch rate, Arizona, and my buddy Med, who's my co-host on Blitz, is huge on this guy, and I can see why. I like Jermaine Burton. Not a lot of people are thinking about him. Dad, I'm giving away secrets. This is real talk right now. Jermaine Burton is somebody I actually really like. I would put him in rookie rankings
Pretty high, actually. I like him. And if Burrow's healthy, he could be decent just already this year. And I think the odds are they don't keep chasing Higgins. I think, like San Fran, Higgins is going to be gone, and they're looking to replace him with somebody cheaper in Burton. So you're getting a receiver two. Not a receiver two. You're getting a starting receiver for the Bengals by 2025. So I really like him.
Love it.
Can I give you one more?
Yeah.
Real quick.
I got one more after that. We'll keep going. I'm having a blast. This is great.
Jalen Wright, Miami Dolphins.
Oh, I like that because Mostert's 32, even though he's a beast, and Kane is really injury prone. That's a good one, man.
I would say he's not a stash, but I love him because I know one thing about Mostert. People point out he's 32, but I'm not saying you're doing this, Isaac, but you can't just look at the age in a vacuum.
No, I haven't.
Out of the 8 years he's played in the NFL, only half of those he's had 100 more carries. He had a total of 3 seasons where he's had a total of 10 carries overall. So, he doesn't have the wear and tear of a usual 32-year-old, I don't think. Although he has been injury prone in the past, he's played most of the last 2 years. But if either guy of those guys get injured, Jalen Wright fits right in with that offense. I don't think he's in a stash, but I like him, William.
Yeah, Monster's only eclipsed 200 total touches twice the last 2 years. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. And that's my concern with Josh Jacobs is he has a workload on him, even though he's only 26. So that's why I like Marshawn Lloyd as a stash, because I actually liked him out of USC. And I'm not just saying that the Packers drafted him. The freaking Bears could have drafted him, and I would have liked him for the Bears. I could be wrong, but he was one of my top fantasy. He was one of my top rookie running backs. So I really like Lloyd for the opposite reason, because Jacobs actually has a lot of touches on him. I got one more for you guys. It's a tight end, and I really like Ben. I don't know if this is a stash. I don't know if it counts, but I like Ben Sinnott out of Washington. Jane Daniels is going to have to. A tight end is a quarterback's best friend, and I think that's why you're going to see if Caleb is good. That's why it's not a rookie play. That's why Cole Kmet will be good for the Bears. As good as those receivers are, that's what is going to help Love if one of those tight ends can pan. In Washington, James Daniels their receivers are good, but you need a tight end in the NFL now. It's really important. So I really like him. I think he could end up being a starting fantasy receiver tight end this year. But I like him as a stash play because even if he's not, I think by 2025 he will be.
Mm-hmm. And so you got to remember his system with Cliff Kingsbury as offensive coordinator. You saw how he used, was it Trey McBride? Before he got the axe, and then Zach Ertz the season before that. He's in a system where he could become used right away.
Was he coaching McBride last year?
I think he was before he got canned, because he's the offensive coordinator this year.
Jermaine Burton is the second best sailor, man. He's throwing all these comments, and I love it.
That's
second
good.
Best deep threat rookie receiver. I like it. I got one last one for you guys.
I got another one too.
He is slower in his 40 times sucked. But in Denver, they're going to need, it's a rookie. There was something about him in college, even though his 40 time wasn't great. And I did watch people catch him. But the way he runs between the tackles, I think Audric Estime has a chance to get the job. I like this kid. I like this kid. It's a stash play I might look at late. I'm giving my dad way too much stuff here. I just gave him gold. He's going to put all these players tomorrow, Scott and William, and then I'm going to message you guys and be like, yeah, my dad took all the players I named.
By the way, William, sorry to report that Kingsbury was not in Arizona last year. He was at USC. But I still see where you're going with that. So
I like it. Great power back.
I hate to correct you in public, but
I swore he was over there.
That's okay. Sometimes we don't always remember. That's what we got Google for. So I didn't remember it either. I'm going to say Eric Alt Jr., tight end. Bengals. Everybody's talk. We've done this 6 years already, okay? And I'm not doing it again. I'm not doing the Mike Gesicki thing again. Okay, I'm not. I just can't. I could be wrong, but every year I hear about how he's too big for defensive backs, how he's too fast for linebackers. Now he's playing in Cincinnati. They they use like tight end. I can't do it with Mike Gesicki as a fantasy player. I'm not saying he won't be good as an NFL player, but Eric All Jr., if he can stay healthy, there's a lot of upside. Injuries are a concern, but I do like him as a stash.
I got one more for you guys.
More real quick. Can I throw a couple in?
Oh, yeah, Dad. Go ahead. Let's go for a little longer. I'm having fun.
This is helping you, Isaac, for tomorrow, right?
No, you got to throw it back. You got to give me your names and be honest.
Have you guys heard of Johnny Wilson, this Philadelphia receiver that's making noise in camp? He is 6'6".
Heard him a little bit.
Runs a 4.5, and he's got surprisingly quick feet. He gets open, right? He's been running, I think, some at the number 3, right? Obviously, they've got Brown, they've got Smith, but Johnny Wilson, that's a deep one. And then the other guy I like is Tyrone Tracy with the Giants because I think he's got an opportunity. He's got an easier road to.
And he couldn't say Malik Neighbors, so
being a starter.
Johnny Wilson sounds like one of those old Motown artists.
I know, right?
Johnny Wilson in the Distance, something like that.
That's a real thing. He's kind of busting it out in camp. I don't know if you've heard of him. So.
Jason says, "Thanks for helping me out for tomorrow's draft, guys."
All right, Jay.
I don't know. That's the Eliminator League is going to be the following week, just so you know. It's not the Eliminator, Jason. This is our Dynasty League. Okay, I got one more for you guys. I'm not sure what you think of him. I'm curious. It really depends on Bryce Young, and it's not the running back. What do you guys think of Jatavion Sanders?
I think that's another stash. All the measurables are there, but sometimes rookie tight ends take a lot to develop. That's why I like Laporta so much, because you just don't see that from a rookie tight end all the time. We're seeing it more recent years, but I think Sanders is a nice stash. By year 2 or 3, he can be very good for Bryce Young.
Okay, so what I want to do now, really quick final thoughts, and then I'll give you guys the room to share your shows. Dad will talk about future stuff we've got going on with our draft tomorrow and stuff. But William, any final fantasy thoughts on leagues? Any tips for anybody?
Make sure that you are not stationary with your fantasy team. You may like them after you finish drafting. Always look for an opportunity to make a trade. Just because you drafted or you feel like you drafted well doesn't mean that you should not make any moves afterward. If you're not trading, you're not trying.
My dad's always offering me trades. He put up his picks for trade for tomorrow already.
Yeah. When you're making a trade offer too,
we'd be trading every week.
When you're making a trade offer too, stop making these Major League Baseball offers where like you stack 4 guys for one, quantity for quality. The person always giving up the quality is it's always lopsided.
Oh, I make generally I make really
hold on, I want to pull up this ridiculous Dynasty offer I got. I have because this guy always, like I would say, will you leave me alone? He always offers trades like this, and I never take them. Hold on.
He said George Pickens is eventually going to break out. I'm like,
listen to this Dynasty trade offer, right? Michael Mayer, Michael Wilson, Drake May, and a 10th rounder for an 8th rounder, a 9th rounder, a 7th rounder, and Garrett Wilson.
Oh my God! No.
Just stop, okay?
Yeah.
Horrible.
I think a lot of managers just don't know how to trade. I think is the problem.
Yeah.
They just
you couldn't throw a first round in there just to like.
Yeah, I mean,
kind of fool you.
When you're making an offer, you can always start out by lowballing a little bit, but always put yourself in the other guy's shoes or gal. Would I consider this? It's you have to know the other owners, but if you don't, because this is the FFPC, where you maybe know the owners, but you get a feel. Don't throw something out there that has no chance of being accepted.
Scott, I need you to talk to my league mates for me because they don't understand the concept of negotiating.
No.
You don't your first offer is never going to be your best offer. It should never be your best offer. I can't read your mind. That's what negotiating is for.
Yeah.
Good point. I like it.
I always
Scott.
look at the team and the player I want to target, and then I look at the team and what the team needs before.
He looks at my team. He's like, "You need a quarterback."
That is the best advice, Tom. Like, so many people don't think about the other side when they're making a trade-off. I always tell, pull up the roster grid. Like, people would say, who do you think I can get for James Cook? Well, you just can't throw James Cook out there and say, I want DK Metcalf if the guy who has DK Metcalf already has 2 starting running backs.
Mm-hmm.
You have to look at the other teams and work up the rosters that make a good fit. Just don't just don't say, okay, I want to go after that guy. I want to go after Nico Collins. What if the guy Nico Collins doesn't have a running back? So you have to find the right trade partner first.
Exactly.
Good take, guys. Scott.
That's trade 101.
Scott, so tell my dad to stop offering me these terrible trades where he's like, "Hey man, I want Jordan Love, and I'll give you Gabe Davis." Is that good? Is that a good trade for you?
Scott, that does not happen.
All right, I'm just playing. Scott, before we close in a minute here, I'm actually having a blast. I could stay up for another hour.
Well, I've talked too much already, so I'll try to keep.
No. You're good. What is your advice or thoughts? Seahawks, it could be NFL, whatever. What are your final thoughts for fantasy season? Any tips you've got for people? I really like what you just said about both y'all, both thinking about the other team, Dad and Scott. That was awesome. No, he does. I was just messing. He offers some good trades.
Some leagues don't offer trades, so you got to remember that too. You play in the NFFC, there's no trades. High stakes, so you got to adjust accordingly. 2 things with drafting, okay? Number 1, don't overthink the draft. Well, like I said earlier, for people who wasn't listening, I'm at number 8, and I think the first 7 are going to go like this. So who do you like between this guy and this guy? Don't try to predict the order ahead of you. Anything can happen, twists and turns. You interview people before the draft. They may not be truthful. They might change their mind in a second because, some pick that you didn't expect will happen. Like we gave out examples of somebody took Anthony Richardson in one league I was in. Somebody took Bijan Robinson. Don't try to predict. If you're at number 9, queue up your top 9 guys and just take the player that's ahead of you. I mean, the player that's in the top of your queue when it's your turn. Second off, okay, Scott Engel never, ever, ever gets sniped in a fantasy draft. Ever. You know why? Because if I'm queuing up certain players, right, and somebody's falling to me and he might get to my spot, well, guess what? Everybody's thinking the same thing.
I do that.
And
and then you
cannot get sniped if you have groups of players ready.
Exactly.
And I always have groups of players ready. So I never get sniped. Smart. Oh, that would have been nice. DK Metcalf went just before my pick. You know what?
I gotta learn.
Would have been nice to have him, but I'm pivoting into Michael Pittman. Let's move on.
That's a good way to think.
I never get sniped.
That's a good point. I'm going to try to work on that because I've done this for over 25 years, but I know I've tried to work on having more than just one target because it's not going to. You're right. Other people have their eyeballs.
I would never ever say you took my guy. Although it's fun for everybody to get sniped.
If I can add to that, I have my draft strategy book ready for tomorrow. Right, I'm the hammerhead. Right, and to your point, Scott, in the first round, I'm number 5, right?
So he's going to make like 4 picks.
Targets. I've got my draft targets. You can see right here where this is round 1. Who is going to be in my group in round 1? Who am I targeting? It's not just one guy. It's a group of guys, and I've got it detailed out, into the 25th round. As best that I can because I have a group of guys.
Yeah, he went all out. I've got my ranking, but I'm not showing him nothing. He didn't see him.
Yes, Scott, I'm right there with you. The question I want to ask William and Scott, not Isaac, because he's in our league. I'm number 5 in our Dynasty startup tomorrow, right? Who would you guys take between these players? if they're available, because I anticipate there's going to be some mistakes made. But again, this is my group. Jamar Chase might be there at 5.
Mm-hmm.
Justin Jefferson might be there at 5. Marvin Harrison probably will be there at 5, right? And Breece Hall, of course, probably be there at 5. I don't anticipate CeeDee Lamb will be there. So out of those 4 players that I just mentioned, Chase, Jefferson, Breece Hall, Harrison, just because Izac, he don't get to pick till 9. So whatever you tell me, I'm going to take it into serious consideration.
Don't worry, I'm going to take whoever you mess up and don't take. You're good. It's okay.
William, who would you take? Dynasty.
For me, it's probably between Marvin Harrison and Breece Hall.
Yeah.
I like those are good names, but those 2 guys have the best situations. And if I'm going to go young, I'll probably take Marvin Harrison.
All right. Thank you for that, William. Thank you.
Okay.
Scott,
Tom,
what do you got?
With all respect, you've listened to nothing that I've said about trying to predict the draft order. You said this guy's probably going to be there. That guy's probably going to be there. You don't know that. Stop.
I'll be right back. You get this too.
All right. Anyhow.
Good point, Scott.
Yeah.
Good point.
I'm messing with you, though. I'm going to go Chase first because he's the most proven high-end receiver. I'm going to go Harrison second because he is a rare generational talent.
Yeah.
I'm going to go Hall third because I like him a lot. But like I said earlier, wide receivers tend to be more durable than running backs. I'm going to go Jefferson fourth because I think his ceiling is a little lower for this year.
All right. Well, thank you for that.
That's a nice breakdown.
And just to let you know, what I've been thinking today is I put Harrison, of those 4 players, I've moved Harrison 1, Chase 2. Hall 3, Jefferson 4, depending on who's available. One of them will be there.
Right.
I've been holding it for about an hour. I couldn't do it anymore. I was like, I'm going to the bathroom. Forget it.
Last tip I'll give
I'm
drafters.
the youngest.
Okay?
I'm probably the second. I don't know how old William is.
Last tip I'll give drafters here. Don't get too caught up in schedule analysis. A lot of schedule analysis based on last year. And don't look at the schedules between week 14 and 16 and say, well, I'd rather have that guy because he's got a really good matchup in week 14. By week 14 or so, your team will significantly change because of trades and waivers and injuries and NFL trends. We don't honestly know who's going to be the best by week 14. We're going to get thrown a lot of curveballs fantasy football wise, so don't look too far down the line.
We had some good comments. I'm going to hit one because I want to give my thoughts and then give you guys a minute to close because I'm actually going to work on some fantasy stuff for the draft tomorrow. What's your thoughts on Jonathan Brooks for Dynasty? We didn't bring him up. I don't know. I'm not sure. The Panthers offense is kind of a nightmare. I'm not sure if they're going to improve.
They're still rebuilding.
They're still rebuilding. I just don't know if Brooks is going to – it's kind of like Bryce Young. I don't know if he's going to be given a fair cry to succeed. The top receiver there is probably not going to be Adam Thielen. It's going to be Xavier Legette, a rookie. I don't know. They haven't even given Bryce Young a fair shake. The offensive line, I'm not huge. Like I'm not saying I wouldn't draft him. He's not on my do not draft list, which I have some.
I mean, Brooks and Benson were the top rated running backs coming out of this draft. If you can get Brooks, you just have to temper expectations. He's coming back from an ACL that he tore late.
Yeah, that's huge.
He's not going to start the beginning of the season. He's more than likely not to start in the beginning of the season. Mm-hmm. And then if he comes on strong after a few weeks when he does return, and he's probably going to be one of your later round, late season guys who turns it up. If he does in that offense, that's a plus. But you're probably looking at him to be more dominant or in a more prominent role next season. So that's what you're planning for if you got him. If he comes on late, cool. You got something that you grabbed a player that is going to help you make a playoff run if he comes back strong. But you're really hoping that he comes along in 2025 and he's the running back one in the Panthers offense.
He's more of a stash player.
Mike drop. That's the end of the Brooks conversation. You said it perfect.
That was well put. All right, got one more. My dad is going to love this one. This will be our last one. I'm going to give my thoughts and then we'll close. Guys, I had a blast. William's coming on our fantasy show on Tuesday. I'm really excited. Scott?
Yes, sir.
We have a lot of people, but if you want to join, man, that'll be a blast. I think you'd have a lot of fun. And it's with my co-host Med, and it's going to be a good time. Malik Neighbors before Harrison Jr. Here's my issue.
Nope. Oh, okay.
I can't do it because Giants don't have a quarterback. Daniel Jones isn't a starting quarterback. He wasn't when he got paid. I need to see him stay healthy. He's coming off isn't it an ACL? He's coming off a major injury. And their backups, I'm sorry, I don't believe in Drew Lock. You know about him. I can't do it. And Marvin Harrison looks pretty special. Neighbors does too, but I just don't know if they have the quarterback to get him the ball.
Look,
at least
forgetting about the quarterback situation, okay, for a second, this is nothing against Neighbors. Hot take, if Jason's right, he's right. We'll give him credit. But this is nothing against Neighbors. Marvin Harrison Jr. is a special generational talent.
Yes.
I'm not taking him out of number one. Now, I don't want to start a basketball argument, but to me, nobody will ever tell me that Michael Jordan is not the number one overall.
Exactly.
With as much respect I have for LeBron. Okay, to me, that's like looking at Harrison, just like he's going to be the GOAT of this rookie class. Okay, that's what I think is going to happen. That's my projection. That's nothing against Neighbors. Like. Now, with the Giants quarterback, give Daniel Jones a little bit of grace, okay? He's never had a good receiving crew. He's never had a receiver like Neighbors. I love Jalen Hyatt as a deep sleeper, too. Drew Lock, I watched him last year. He cleaned up a lot of the rough edges in his game, which was interceptions. He throws a great deep ball. If Drew Lock gets in there, Neighbors will put up numbers. I've seen very good receivers put up good numbers with mediocre quarterbacks.
True. I mean, Justin Jefferson, we're going to draft him, and Sam Darnold is like, I mean, unless they trade for a quarterback, Sam Darnold is the quarterback in Minnesota right now. So that's a good take. I will say, I think the funny thing is, Marvin Harrison's going to end up being the stud of this class, but we still might get 2 or 3 or 4, maybe even 5, and if you include the guys in the second round, other really good receivers out of this class. Roma Dunze in Chicago, if Keenan Allen goes down, which he does frequently.
This is
and Roma Dunze is going to be growing up with Caleb. So if Caleb is it, that's going to be something. And then Malik Neighbors is a talent. I like what you said because Daniel Jones has not. He's had a Saquon Barkley. That was probably his best weapon. And Darren Waller's out. So the door is wide open for Malik Neighbors in New York.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting. Good stuff.
New Jersey. That's where the Giants play.
Sure. Good point. My final take is I'm going to try not to get sniped, and I'm going to do more of the grouping. I started doing it more last year. I had 3 or 4 targets. I try to have multiple positions, and with Dynasty, I'm going to be doing that. But I like something Scott said earlier, and I'm going to just go. I'm going to keep going with that. This is my first year in Dynasty, and one of my strategies is going to be, yes, to stash some rookies and some guys that I like for future years. But you can't forget about now. So, like, if a Tyreek Hill is available or a Roma Dunze is available, even though Tyreek Hill is 30 years old, age is nothing but a number, like with Mostert, and Tyreek Hill hasn't shown any signs of slowing down. He's actually gotten better since he left KC, fantasy-wise. So, think about now in Dynasty Leagues. We are also, for the first time, I didn't say it in the whole 2 hours, we are doing an eliminator for the first time. So, that is it's interesting because that's an 18-team league. So your team is not as going to be as strong in the beginning. And that one, you're trying to pick up guys from the teams that get eliminated. So we're doing that format for the first time as well. So I do an auction. I do a snake, both redrafts. And this year I'm going to be doing an eliminator or guillotine for the first time. And I'm going to be doing a dynasty for the first time. I'm pretty excited.
Nice.
One more tip for dynasty players, okay? Don't get over caught up with age, okay?
Yeah.
Everybody uses 30 as the general. Too many people, not everybody, use 30 as the general marker for everybody to decline. That's a running back age. That does not apply to wide receivers. The late, great Mike Taglieri of Fantasy Pros used to do annual studies that show that receivers generally don't fall off till age 32 or 33. Tight ends fall off even later. Quarterbacks might not fall off till their mid-30s or like 36. Also take into account, as we said with Raheem Mostert, how much a player has played or been a starter at a high level. And when you're playing in Dynasty, like we said at the top, for those who missed it, Tom and I were talking about this. Mm-hmm. Don't draft everybody with the eye on 7-8 years down the line. The scope of the NFL and the dynamics of the players and the trends, and your team is going to change a lot in just 3 years. And remember, you want to win this year. So if veterans start falling in your draft, take those good values.
Keenan Allen, 32, and was still a top 20 receiver. That my only concern with him is health. It's not even an age thing. He just gets hurt. But with that offense, he could be pretty special. All right, Dad, I'm going to kick it to them for their stuff.
Yeah.
Got any final fantasy thoughts before I let them close with where their shows are and stuff?
Oh, just it looks like for me in the Dynasty draft, I'm at the 5 position. So right now, it's funny because Scott was talking about, hey, just don't go young. Look at all the players, right? But at 5, I'm thinking Harrison. If he falls to me, is going to be my pick. And then if Neighbors falls into the second round to the 20th spot, I could start with Harrison Neighbors combination.
He didn't listen to anything I said. He's still trying to predict the draft ahead of time. There's a very good shot that Marvin Harrison Jr. is not going to be there at number 5.
Oh, well, if he's not there, I've got Chase will be there, Jefferson. So, I'll get a good player.
All right, he knows who's going to be there. Okay.
He's got like 7 names, and one of them has got to be there. I like it.
4 guys that are going to fall.
So, Scott, you were actually...
Sam Darnold is going number 1, I don't know what's going on here.
So, Scott, we've got a really big panel on Tuesday, but you're absolutely welcome. If you join, we've got so many names, we'll probably roll at 7 Eastern. We've got me, Med, Williams joining. We've got Big Draft Energy, another fantasy show.
He's a good dude, yeah.
Oh, you know him? Nice. And Ballers and Briefs on Tuesday. So if you want to join, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, guys. We're at almost 2 hours. William, tell people what you got coming up, where to find your stuff again, and thank you for joining, dude. Seriously, this was a blast.
No problem. I really appreciate the invite, man. This was fun. This was really fun.
This is my first full fantasy show. I've never done this. I do little takes, and it makes me want to just do fantasy shows all the time, honestly. So,
yeah, but you can find the podcast is available everywhere. We're on Apple. We're on YouTube. We'll be doing, like I said before in the beginning, we'll be doing more video content on our YouTube channel at Fantasy's Finest. Yes, Mr. Sailor, I will update my Discord link and my YouTube bio. I just got some tinkering to do, so I get that done. I also write too. I mentioned that earlier as well. I write for Fantasy Data. I write my own website, thefantasysfinest.com. You can follow us across all our social medias. We're on Threads, Instagram, Facebook. We have Facebook pages, Twitter at the same handle, Fantasy Finest. And if you want to follow me personally, you can follow me on Twitter too at hype_finest. And we're on TikTok as well. So we got a lot of things coming, more content coming. So stay tuned and hit them follow buttons.
Scott.
Yeah, the way he's got Fantasy Finest, in the PH, you think he's a Dolphins fan.
I know.
You're not the first person that's done that, but the Phillies also do the PH too. So that's kind of where I jacked it from.
Oh, you're a Phillies fan?
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Oh, get out of here!
I live in Queens, New York. What do you expect?
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. Anyhow,
where can people find you and all the stuff you do? The floor is yours, bud.
Okay. And Finn, you and I are following each other, right? William?
Yes, sir.
On X/Twitter. Okay. Just wanted to make sure I'm following.
It's Twitter. It's not.
Anyhow, I just want to say thank you for having me, Tom, William, and Izac. Who William, I think, looks very much like a young Matt Hasselbeck. The resemblance is striking. I might have to pull up his picture and Matt's, and just like put it out there.
Do a side by side.
Yeah, side by side.
You should do it. Really fun.
Yeah, so you can find me at Scott E the King on Twitter/X. Rotoballer.com, my updated ranks. Enter King at checkout for a special discount on the Rotoballer Fantasy Football Season Pass. Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio every Sunday, 3 to 5 Eastern with Michael Florio. And that's Rotoballer Radio. Seahawks.com. Go to the team's official site. Click on the news tab. Fantasy Insider. You'll see all my updated preseason stuff there. It's all free. And I spotlight the Seahawks, but I go have ranks and analysis from around the entire league. Sportsline.com, part of the Fantasy Football Draft Bible. And also some of my stuff is up at The Athletic now, too. So, thanks a lot for having me.
Is it the Michael Florio from Pro Football Talk and Football Night in America, or the?
No, you're thinking of the
That's
second.
what I thought. The other one.
You're thinking of the second Mike Florio.
No.
The main Mike Florio is Michael F. Florio.
Michael F. Florio. No.
On the NFL Network, yeah.
I heard. That's what I thought. I'd heard of him as well because I've seen him on NFL Network. So
that's
really cool.
That's the most prominent Michael Florio.
You're right. Actually, that's funny. Is he was the face I thought at first, but I was like, isn't that another Michael Florio? And then I looked and I was just looking at it. I was
the
like,
other Michael Florio is the one from Football Night in America.
Gotcha. And which I've seen him as well, obviously. But really cool, man. That's awesome. And thank you so much for joining, both of you guys. Seriously, it was cool, William, after talking so long. And then Scott, it was pretty cool. People were like, what's your show tonight? I was like, I don't know. I've got the Sirius XM fantasy, guest hopping on and another fantasy expert. No big deal. It's gonna be fun. And I was like, Dad, you gotta hop on. Like, this is gonna be a great time. And
what's your YouTube channel again?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, Fun Football Podcast.
What's that?
Fun Football Pod.
Okay, got it.
I'll put it in the link. I'll put it in. I got it right now. Hold on.
Okay.
I got you. I'm throwing it in. Hold up. For people that don't have it.
Have you, Scott and William, thank you.
Thanks for extending the invitation, man. This was fun.
I know that's a long link, but it's just Fun Football. I'll put it as an actual thing too.
Okay.
Fun Football Pod. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah. It might be podcasts. I feel like when you pull up pod, it pulls up. So that's my YouTube. Yeah, we're on it right now live. So anyways, all right, here's what we got coming up. Oh, Dad, wait, sorry. Where can people find you? You're on Twitter now. Dad, where can people find you?
What are you talking about? I don't have any podcasts or anything. I'm just a fantasy player.
I'm just messing. I just like that you're on Twitter, and I could tag you in this, and I know you probably didn't look at it.
X Twitter? I don't even know.
X Twitter, whatever. I just got him on Twitter, and now I send him my stuff. Like when Lamar Jackson requoted it, I was like, Dad, check it out. I sent it to him. It was kind of cool. I could not just send him a screenshot. I sent it to him on Twitter. You're on Facebook, though, too, Dad. You have socials now. Look at you.
That's right. I'm connected.
You're connected. All right. I'm Izac with Fun Football Podcast and Blitz. I'm hoping Scott joins us, but on Tuesday, I've already previewed it. We have another, and this was a blast. I'm really excited. On Tuesday night, I'm going to just start at 7 Eastern because we have such a big panel. We have Scott Engel coming on, hopefully. William Spencer, Big Draft Energy, Ballers and Briefs with me and Med on Blitz, 7 Eastern on Tuesday nights. That is our new landing spot. We'll be starting our shows at 7 or 7:30 Eastern. You can see that on YouTube. You can find me, Fun Football Podcast, next Friday. We're going to have a Packer and Bear panel. Matt Ramage, Rev Trev, myself, Bill, and Med will get his just lickings from the four of us Packer fans, and I'm really excited. That'll be at 9 Eastern next Friday. And then we've got one more college special the following week, and then I'll take a little break before the season starts. I'll be visiting my dad in Arizona. I'm really excited. You can find me on TikTok, Fun Football Pod, on X, Fun Football Pod, on YouTube. I think it's Fun Football Podcast, Facebook, Instagram, even email. You can find me on all of them. But please like and subscribe. This was a blast. I will see you guys on Tuesday night. We might stream this draft tomorrow. Me and my dad will have a little conversation off the air. But thank you for watching for 2 hours. We had some people hang for the whole time. Jason hung the whole time. And just for Bill and William, he said, "Go Cubs, go," just to be Jason. I love it. And he's a Phillies fan, but not an Eagles fan. That's interesting, Sailor said. So
yeah.
That was
Get that
also
too.
interesting. But guys, this was a blast. It was my first full fantasy show, and I want to do more. So thank you guys, William, Scott, Dad. That was awesome. Thank you everybody for watching. This is Fun Football Podcast, Isaac, and I will see you guys on Tuesday evening. Thank you so much.